Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of ICTV Headlines. As usual, I am your host, Dijana Kunovac. Well, the Tar Heels have started conference play, but things not exactly going as how they envisioned. They are 0-3 in ACC play for the first time in the Roy Williams era. But instead of focusing on the bad, we're going to turn our attention to the good, and it comes in the form of Marcus Paige, the sophomore point guard for UNC. And for more on that, we have IC's Rob Harrington joining me for the first time in studio, live and in person. Very exciting time.
Yes, I was thrilled. I've seen this thing in its formulation stages, and so it's nice to finally be with you guys.
All right, well, let's talk about Marcus. You covered him in high school. Iowa and everything, the whole shebang. What kind of player was he in high school, and what did he bring to the table at that point in his career?
I think it's really interesting because he's one of the few players I think who really needed and benefited from AAU basketball because he was able to cultivate his off-the-ball skills. He played as a wing for his AAU team, and not only did he play the wing and shoot a lot, but he learned to play with and against very formidable opponents. And I think for that reason, that enabled him to acclimate much more quickly than you might have expected to playing off the ball at Carolina.
Well, he did come into UNC expecting to be behind Kendall Marshall. Unfortunately, I guess fortunately also, he got the starting spot right away his freshman year. What adjustments did you see him make from high school and from AAU ball to his freshman year at UNC as the starting point guard? He
actually was a little bit more of a playmaker in high school most of the time when I saw him. Like I said, I think he needed the travel team circuit to sort of iron him out as a wing and as a primary shooter. I don't think that he came to Carolina thinking that he would have to be a primary scorer, at least initially. I certainly didn't expect that. I don't think Roy Williams expected that. But to his credit, he has at least attempted to be the alpha scorer that the program desperately needs right now. And I think for the most part, I mean, recent struggles aside, he's done a great job with it.
We'll get to the recent struggles and the minutes and all the hardships that tough little nut, as Roy Williams likes to call him, is going through. Going from freshman to sophomore year, where did you see him improve the most in that sense?
Well, certainly as a shooter. Roy Williams has pointed out that he rimmed out a lot of threes last year. This year, at least for the most part, he hasn't been rimming them out. Increasingly, his shot selection has become more difficult, as we've seen. But just the fact that he's made so many open shots, he sort of foreshadowed it late last year. But this year, when he came on like gangbusters initially, and I think that speaks to his hard work in the summer.
God, what game was it last year? Was it overtime in the Virginia Tech game where he just completely took over? I think put 9 points up in overtime. I think that was the game that, for me, I was kind of like, whoa, this kid actually might be the real deal, which he proved to be this year. But he's also had to slide over to the 2 spot with Nate Britt at the 1 so far this year because their lack of wings and their lack of shooters. How do you think he's adjusted to that? And do you see him playing better at the 1 or at the 2?
I think Carolina must address this issue, especially going into next season. They have this influx of talent on the perimeter. Do they keep 3 point guards effectively on the roster and in the rotation, most importantly with Paige and Joel Berry and Nate Britt? Or do they keep him off the ball now that he has proven to be, at times, a dominant scorer? He still could be the best perimeter scorer next season, depending on how ready the freshmen are. And if someone like JP Tokoto can improve, that may be his role going forward. I think that he has been fairly seamless in terms of his shooting. I think if he moves back to point guard, he'll have to adjust his game some. But I'm sure Roy Williams would love to move him back there and have him be another guy in the backcourt rather than basically the only guy as a shooter.
We did talk a little bit, or you touched upon the struggles that he's had recently in conference play. Where do you think those stem from? I have my own theories. I'll let you go first.
I think a lot of it is just that they are being game planned against now much more ferociously than they were when they were playing some of the elite teams that were just running their stuff, playing the long game, playing for the tournament, just as Carolina has done for so long. You saw that against Belmont and especially UAB, teams that tailored their approach to beat Carolina. Now in conference play, they're not getting anyone's just running stuff. I mean, everyone will put in a zone, even if they have to do it that week, just because they haven't been able to score against it effectively. Paige has borne the brunt of the defensive focus now, and teams are daring Britt and Tokoto to shoot from the outside, and including the power forwards too. When McAdoo goes out there, or Bryce Johnson takes his jump shots, Paige is the one they try to take away and then gamble that no one else will beat them.
So you think that because teams are scheming for him and his three-point shooting skills, that is the main reason that he struggled a bit?
I think so. I think you also could point to playing time. I mean, certainly Roy Williams has pointed it out.
Yeah, I was going to address that.
the very high number of minutes, playing 37 and 38 minutes, and being still skinny. He's stronger than he was a year ago, but he's still a skinny guy.
He's tiny.
And
yes.
For that reason, I think it's asking maybe more than is realistic, given the scoring burden that he already has to take on his shoulders to play that many minutes and to deliver, and also adjust to the mental pressures of having to address every run made by an opposing team and to kind of keep them confident going forward.
You addressed the time issues. I found this stat. He's averaging 35.3 minutes a game, and he's on pace to be the most of any player under Roy Williams. So I talked to him after the Syracuse game, and he said that physically he's fine. You know, he's not really feeling the grunt of all the minutes and everything that he has to do. It's mentally. He's starting to put a lot of pressure on himself. And he talked to Coach Williams, and he talked to a few of the former players and said that that helped him out. And you could tell he looked a little more comfortable in the Syracuse game. But let me ask you this, and this is a conspiracy theory, and kind of just to play devil's advocate, with the P.J. Hairston situation resolved, done, he's gone, do you think Marcus was holding out a little bit for PJ to come back, and he was like, if I can just hold on until that happens, then I can relax a little bit? And because that didn't happen, he's realizing that he has to carry the grunt of the load here.
I think that's certainly a possibility. I think that it could work in tandem with just the initial energy burst that accompanies the beginning of every season. You see a lot of teams that start out very quickly, November, December, and then they sort of peter out, especially when they rely that heavily on one player. But I do think there is something to be said for the fact that the team has looked competitively diminished since they found out Harrison would not return. They hung together initially, but I think when they had a loss or two, it's like, okay, well, this is what we have. Are we going to be able to recover from it, or are we the team that lost to Belmont and UAB? And lately they've backslid, no question.
All right, final question, not Marcus Paige related, but while you're here, I might as well ask you, how do you see this team finishing the season?
I've been bearish on them from the beginning when Hairston looked like he wouldn't come back, because I just don't think that a team that struggles this much to shoot threes will be effective offensively on a consistent basis. They've already lost at least two very winnable ACC games, the Syracuse game notwithstanding, but the other two. And I think they need to finish 500 in the conference to make the tournament. So I guess now that means what, 9-3 or something like that. And I think that is asking an awful lot.
I agree. I agree. I can't say it much better. Well, that's going to be it, I think, unless, Rob, you have any final words?
No, that's it. I've enjoyed my experience here.
Yeah, do you like the studio? Is it good? Is it everything you imagined from your Skype world?
I mean, I think the blue is a little bit like the old Smith Center seats.
Okay.
Maybe a little off color, but not bad.
Well, we'll take it. It's history. That's what it is. It's history. All right, well, that's going to be it for this edition of ICTV Headlines. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.